Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas podcast, where we dive deep into the most unforgettable, outrageous, and iconic moments in daytime drama history. Today, we're taking on one of the wildest storylines ever broadcast on television, the Salem Stalker saga from Days of Our Lives. It had everything: shocking murders, a beloved heroine turned killer, a mysterious island, and an ending that left fans both stunned and strangely satisfied. From poisoned donuts to a tropical resurrection twist, this arc didn't just push boundaries, it blew them wide open. So buckle up, soap fans. Whether you're a lifelong viewer or just soap curious, you're about to relive one of the most legendary plot twists in daytime TV history. Let's rewind the hourglass and get into it.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something quite extraordinary, I think. A really bizarre chapter from soap opera history. Forget the usual Salem scandals. We are talking about the infamous Salem Stalker storyline from Days of Our Lives.
Right. A plot that had people absolutely glued to their screens, but also, completely bewildered sometimes.
Definitely. And for this deep dive, we've looked at, well, quite a mix. Articles from Entertainment Weekly, Collider, Wikipedia's got a good overview, too.
Yeah, and even an old Angelfire fan site, remember those? It was a Reddit discussion. Lots of different angles.
Exactly. And our goal isn't just to retell the story. We want to understand, why did this grab people so much? What does it say about soaps?
And how it just sort of stretched what you thought daytime drama could even do.
Yeah, because you think you've seen it all with soaps, right?
Yeah.
The crazy twists, people coming back from the dead.
For sure. Standard stuff.
But the Salem Stalker, it was something else. It started, fairly standard for a thriller plot. This shadowy figure starts killing people off in Salem.
But who is the key thing? These weren't minor characters. These were absolute pillars of the show. People who had been on screen for, what was it? Like a combined 158 years?
Astonishing, yeah. So the shock right from the start was just huge among the viewers.
You really have to remember how connected audiences feel to these characters. They're practically family for some people watching for decades.
Totally. So when Police Commander Abe Carver gets shot.
Yeah, and then Maggie Horton, bludgeoned.
Yeah.
And Cassie DeMera ends up in a piñata.
Still sounds completely surreal, doesn't it?
It does. And then Alice Horton, the matriarch, killed by a poisoned donut of all things. Her signature donuts.
It felt less like a plot twist and more like an attack on the show's history almost.
The audacity of it was really something. That's what hooked everyone initially, I think, the sheer nerve.
Okay, so let's talk about the person behind this chaos. James E. Riley.
Ah, yes. A writer with a certain reputation, known for his work on Days Before and later Passions.
He had this style, right? These sort of kitsch gothic touches, as one source put it. Big melodrama, very theatrical, sometimes pretty dark.
And fans were definitely divided on him. You either loved his stuff or you really, really didn't.
Right. So why bring him back? Well, apparently Days was struggling a bit. Ratings weren't great.
Yeah, the context is key. NBC basically admitted the show's long-term survival was at stake. They needed a shakeup.
And Riley, well, he knew how to create buzz, even if it was controversial buzz.
It's a gamble, isn't it? Bringing in someone known for potentially alienating parts of the audience to save the show. Shows the pressure they were under.
And boy, did he shake things up. But that initial reaction, ooh.
Fiery is a good word for it. People were outraged. Threatening boycotts, writing angry letters.
I read even Julia Roberts apparently chimed in, saying it had all gone a bit too far.
Huh. Yeah, and critics, too. One saying, if they wanted cartoons, they'd watch Disney. Basically calling it ridiculous.
But Riley, he seemed to know exactly what he was doing. He said he wasn't trying to destroy the show.
No, his quote was something like, he wanted to shake it up because it was really in trouble.
And he practically challenged the audience, didn't he? Be angry at me, hate me. It shows that you are involved.
Exactly. But watch the show to see what happens. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
He knew that any strong emotion, even anger, meant people were still invested.
It's kind of a masterclass in manipulating audience engagement, in a way.
Definitely a risky strategy, though.
But, okay, the hooded figure, silver hockey mask, black gown, red. Very slasher movie vibes.
Dropped into this familiar daytime soap setting. Very jarring.
And the victims kept coming. We mentioned Abe, Maggie, Cassie, Alice.
Yeah, Abe shot, Maggie bludgeoned, Cassie, the piñata incident, Alice and the donut. It just kept escalating.
The methods were so specific and frankly bizarre.
And these weren't just quick off-screen deaths. They were often quite graphic for daytime.
And the body count climbed, eventually hitting 10 victims. The whole town and the audience was just reeling.
You just didn't know who was next. The suspense was intense.
And then, the reveal. Just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier.
Get ready for it.
They unmask the killer, and it's Dr. Marlena Evans. Beloved, heroic Marlena, played by Deidre Hall.
Icon of the show. Even the actress Deidre Hall apparently had no idea it was coming. She was shocked.
Wow. Can you imagine?
The Angelfire site actually puts a date on that reveal, January 28th, 2004, and the reaction was immediate.
Backlash doesn't even cover it, does it? That fan site mentioned 6 bags of mail arriving in protest.
6 bags. It just shows how much people cared about Marlena. They couldn't accept her as this cold-blooded killer.
It messes with that connection you have with a character you've known for years.
Totally. So theories started flying around immediately, trying to make sense of it.
Like the twin sister theory. That popped up on the Angelfire site, too. Maybe it wasn't Marlena, but her long-lost, presumed dead twin, Samantha.
Right. That would sort of preserve Marlena's character, wouldn't it? A classic soap trope to explain away something unbelievable.
It also kind of speaks to the logistical problems, though. Like, people on Reddit pointed out, how could Marlena even do all this?
Exactly. There were times she supposedly killed someone while she was, like, across town doing something else entirely.
The timeline just didn't work if she was the only one involved. It felt off.
Which just fueled the idea that there had to be more to it. People knew something else was coming.
But I bet nobody guessed what that something else was.
Oh, absolutely not. Because the next twist, well, it topped everything.
All those victims. Abe, Maggie, Alice, Cassie, all 10 of them.
Yep, they weren't actually dead.
They were all found alive. And, well, they were on a tropical island called Meliswen.
Meliswen.
Which is...
New Salem. Spelled backwards.
You can't make this stuff up. Or, well, clearly James E. Riley could.
The sheer unadulterated audacity of it.
And this is where the classic Days villains come back into play, isn't it? The Demeras.
Right. The real mastermind wasn't Marlene at all. It was Andre Demera, Stefano's nephew, or actually later revealed to be his biological son, keeping it complicated.
Of course, and he'd been running around disguised as his cousin, Tony Demera.
So Andre had faked all the deaths, shipped everyone off to Meliswen, and brainwashed Marlena into thinking she was the killer.
Why? What was his endgame?
Classic soap motives, really. Revenge, plus this weird obsession he had with Marlena's husband, John Black.
Ah, the eternal John and Marlena's saga.
Exactly. And Andre had formed for this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Impersonating Tony, framing people like Roman Brady, clashing with John, faking his own death a few times.
He was definitely the kind of character who would cook up a plan this elaborate and, frankly, insane.
It wasn't entirely out of character for him, even if the overall plot was out there. It tapped into years of show history and rivalries.
That layering probably helped sell it, even amidst the craziness.
Maybe. So looking back at how fans felt before the big Meliswen reveal, that Reddit thread was fascinating.
Yeah, what was the vibe?
The consensus seemed to be, and I think this quote sums it up perfectly, no one had any fucking idea.
Huh. Probably true.
And many people there actually said that unpredictability was what made it kind of brilliant. Even if it was totally absurd, it kept everyone completely hooked because nobody could guess the ending.
Even the actors were in the dark, weren't they? They thought they were actually being killed off.
Yeah, reports say they were genuinely surprised to find out they weren't fired and their characters were coming back. Talk about secrecy on set.
Imagine the relief. So this whole saga, it really stuck with people, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. 20 years later, fans still talk about the Salem Stalker. It's infamous, maybe legendary in its own weird way.
And it worked, in a sense. That Angelfire site mentioned the ratings jumped significantly during this period.
It proves that sometimes going completely over the top can grab attention, even if it risks alienating some viewers.
When you put it next to other soap serial killers like Collider listed the Necktie Killer, Ryan Chamberlain, others.
Yeah, the Salem Stalker stands out, not really for the body count because technically it was 0 in the end.
Right, good point.
But for the sheer boldness of the fake out, the whole island resurrection thing is just unique. It broke the mold.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this one last time. A deep dive indeed. We had the shocking and bizarre murders of core characters. Then the even more shocking reveal. Marlena, the heroine, was the killer.
Followed by the ultimate twist. Nope, nobody's dead. They're all on Fantasy Island, basically.
Okay, Meliswen.
Meliswen, right. And it was all a plot by Andre Demera to mess with John and Marlena.
Phew, what a ride.
The big takeaway, I think, is just how incredibly flexible soap operas can be. How willing they are to embrace the completely absurd sometimes.
Yeah, the Salem Stalker is maybe the ultimate example of pushing narrative boundaries way past what you'd expect, even if it meant hitting the giant reset button with Meliswen.
It delivered shock value like nothing else.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you, listening. What does a storyline like the Salem Stalker really tell us about? Well, us. About our appetite for shock, for surprise, even in stories we know and love.
Yeah, and could something that wild even work today? With social media picking apart every single clue in real time, would the reaction be different?
Something to chew on, maybe. Like maybe not a donut.
Probably best not.
So what started as a murder mystery turned into a masterclass in soap opera chaos. And somehow, it worked. The Salem Stalker storyline tested fan loyalty, redefined what was possible in daytime drama, and reminded us why Days of Our Lives remains a genre legend. Through fake deaths, jaw-dropping reveals, and an island no one saw coming, this arc proved that soaps can still surprise us, even when we think we've seen it all. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of the boldest chapters in soap history. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your fellow Days fans. We've got more twists, more drama, and more iconic moments coming your way. Until next time, keep watching the hourglass, because as sands keep slipping, so do the secrets of our favorite soaps.